In 2019, we began sounding the alarm on the rotating door at the courthouse via a press conference with Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg and former Houston Chief of Police Art Acevedo. Since then, we have been connected with victim after victim whose lives have been affected by violent crime in our city. To date, there have been at least 149 people in Harris County who have lost their lives to repeat violent offenders, and countless who have experienced violent assaults or home invasions.
So I was just coming home from a nice restaurant, taking a friend out. I have a habit of staying on the phone, coming in the house, and these folks, three of them jumped the fence, and I was just a sitting duck, waiting for them. They were waiting for me to get out of my car, and I was still on the phone when I transferred from Bluetooth to my handset to go in the house. When I got out of the phone, the guy hit me from behind, and then two other fellows came, bum rushed me, and it was more than I could handle.
Today on The Balanced Voice, Rania welcomes Crime Stoppers of Houston board member Taseer Badar to discuss his encounter with violent crime in our city. Taseer is the chairman and CEO for ZT Corporate and has become an active voice for crime prevention in the business community. We're grateful for Taseer's involvement in our fight for a safer Houston. Without further ado, here's your host, Rania Mankarious.
Welcome to the Balanced Voice podcast. We're so thrilled to have with us today Taseer Badar, who is chairman and CEO of both ZT Corporate and Altus Health Systems. He's also the founder of Altus Foundation, which is a way to give back to the community. He's also a Crime Stoppers board member. Welcome to the podcast, Taseer.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, Rania. Thank you for having me.
So Taseer, you and I have known each other for quite some time. We've loosely worked together over the years, but last January, an incident took place that was very, very significant, quite personal and very scary, that really changed your relationship with us and your outlook on public safety. Share with us what happened.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. Inauguration night of an election year. That's for sure. That's when it happened. I was minding my own business as usual, and I would like to say, a very blessed life all my life, living in nice areas with my parents and, middle class type areas. Didn't have much crime. Went to school at Texas A&M where you didn't lock your door in College Station. So I was just coming home from a nice restaurant, taking a friend out for his birthday. And I have a habit of staying on the phone, coming in the house, and I was checking on with my business manager what's going on. And my son's baseball coach had COVID, and we needed to get him into one of our neighbors' ERs in Kingwood. So I was on the phone for the video shows about 17 minutes, and these folks, three of them jumped the fence, and I was just a sitting duck, waiting for them. They were waiting for me to get out of my car, and I was still on the phone when I transferred from Bluetooth to my handset to go in the house. When I got out of the phone, the guy hit me from behind. I threw him against the wall, and a fight happened with me and him. I didn't even know. It's not like not that I advocate having a fight with anyone. It's not what I would recommend anyone to do. It's just something that happened. I didn't know what happened, really. And then two other fellows came, bum rushed me, and it was more than I could handle. And it was terrifying. But I had heard about these types of incidents happening in Houston. So at that moment, I felt like they weren't going to kill me, even though they had three lasers pointed at my head, and kicking my head in. And it was because I didn't realize it till after the video came out. I actually was fighting them too. So they were trying to control me. I wasn't controllable. They wanted to get in the house. That's their MO. Tie everyone up, go to the safe or whatever they think is in the house. That's their plan. I delayed them probably 54 seconds or whatever. I think when they opened the door to the house, the alarm was beeping. What they don't know is because of my, again, very, I would say, lackadaisical side on its security. My wife Zora is super into security. She's from Karachi. But she knows when I'm in town, she doesn't even put it on because I'm too lazy to shut off the alarm and all the things I'm on the phone and distracted. So they had an easy path in, but they saw the alarm, I think, pad. It was beeping. So they thought maybe it was already been alerted. And they grabbed my chain, and my Rolex watch, and they left. Um, there was, so they were covered up in, the COVID style, COVID acceptable type
Yeah.
wear, the masks, the gloves. Because of the tussle I had with the first guy, I had ripped off his glove. So there's some DNA being still researched on folks I think have found. So hopefully it'll match somebody. But yeah, it changed my life. It changed what I thought about, things, and how blessed I am to be here. Um, since then, I've attended a couple of your events where I've seen family members not so blessed.
Hmm.
And it's really moving to me. I now consider police officers, we all get upset with them. We all do. Oh, they could do more. Uh, you know, they're heroes.
Yeah.
They're heroes. What happened that night? I literally, when I got to know some of these police officers who came to the scene, even though they were running behind, they were very, how do you say, concerned about, even if you pull all the pressure you can to Sierra to get these people, they'll be out tomorrow.
Yes.
And
That's
felony,
our biggest frustration.
right? And that's their deterrent from being a police officer these days.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what felony bond reform was. I'm not too in the political scene, as you know, Rania. I'm a businessman. I do a lot of work in the community, but I'm not the headliner and next to the politicians on stage.
It's just so interesting because one would never think of public safety as being political, but it's become so political. I feel like we at Crime Stoppers feel like we're playing political chess every day. And I think about that night. I mean, the video footage is there. You're on the floor. It's 3 against 1. You're really fighting. You're kicking. You're fighting. You have security. It's all there. But what was your notion of public safety the night before this happened? What were your thoughts on it?
I mean, I live in Memorial. A friend of mine 2 weeks ago, this happened to at a much lesser degree. But I thought, oh, they live near the Galleria on Chimney Rock, and that's a very busy commercial area and whatever. No, to answer your question, no. I was oblivious to it. And now I know more stats than I want to know, that and I can completely concur with you that this is not a political issue. Just like, for example, I'm in healthcare. I think that, I'm not trying to choose parties, but common sense is common sense in care and disease. And we all know what we're talking about that's been going on the last 2 years, the pandemic. And there's a lot of things that I feel like that there's no common sense being used. And by the way, there's a lot of minority police officers that are I'm not trying to be political again, I'm just saying, who concur with Governor Abbott on security, but they may not agree with him on his other agendas, which is fine.
Right. Yes.
That's what tells you that it's not a political issue. It's a common issue. They can't even do their job. They can't do their job. So it's that's what I'm fighting.
So let's talk about that. You mentioned felony bond reform. And to be honest, this was something we started looking into back in October 2019. We had a huge press conference with DA Kim Ogg, with then Police Chief Art Acevedo, and we really dove into what is felony bond reform, what is happening. And basically, in a nutshell, it's this notion that until you're proven guilty, really, you shouldn't be held pretrial. Really, no one should be held pretrial. And okay, what does that mean? When you're dealing with the most violent offenders, people who are committing murder or allegedly committing murder, rape, if we're going to continually be releasing them into the community, then we're anticipating that there's going to be a spike in crime. And we're seeing that. I mean, we are seeing crime rates go up. We're seeing people afraid to go to the mall. We're seeing people being followed home from restaurants. They are getting attacked at Memorial Park. So what is your thought? What do we do as a community, as business leaders? What should we be doing to help solve this problem?
Well, first of all, just for my own self, unfortunately, I have a completely new security at my house. I have an armed guard all the time, pretty much. But how many people can afford that?
Yeah, right.
two canines at their home. It's people can't. It's the the thing is that right now there's three issues here. One is we have 1/3 of the police force of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we have, don't quote me on this, but I think 2 to 4 times the landmass of
Yeah.
Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's a problem. And I know we were a southern sleepy town before, but we're not anymore. Uh, and that's one. The second issue I have that I bring up from a business side is how are we going to attract Houston to be a letterhead city when, you know, when you have people, you're getting people to go to Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and I know they have their problems too, but proportionately, I don't know, the statistics more than me, Rania, from you track them versus other cities. How do we do? Well, last time I checked, when we spoke, and maybe it's changed since, Houston's way up there in crime right now,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
an odd reform issue. And to me, it doesn't make sense. And by the way, underneath their breath, I talked to some very prominent incumbent uh, political figures that are in charge here. They completely agree with me and you and what we're fighting for, but they're afraid to talk about it. And
Yeah.
to be
Which is
honest,
so sad and
yeah,
so
but let it
frightening.
happen to them what happened to me. Let's see what happens to them and or their child or their sister or their brother or their friend. And then your mind will flip. Your mind will change how you think.
Well, it makes me think about the other day, the San Francisco Chronicle issued a report that basically said citizens have to just be okay with being burglarized and robbed. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It takes me back to, and I know Representative AOC, she's not in our district, but something she said was very compelling in the post George Floyd conversation. She said, it's time that we, quote, experiment with public safety. And I don't understand why we have to experiment with public safety. I mean, Taseer, what are your thoughts there?
On a federal level, I believe, Rania, that we live in the most free country in the world. And what I mean by that is every other country I can talk about has somewhat of a police state, even Canada. You cannot mess with the immigration people in Canada when you cross the border. You
Mm.
have a certain level of decorum, respect for the badge. We just don't. And it's become to the point where these people don't want to be there, and hence they know that they're going to go in and go out. The chief of police, the former one who came to my home, again, I'm very lucky that I have that type of level officer come to my home. He said, "I'm going to get him, but it's your job to see her to keep him there. Talk to the magistrates, talk to the judges, talk to the DA. I'm going to get him." But that's really discouraging if I'm in that job. If I know every day I'm going to go to my business, I'm going to lose money, then what the hell am I doing here? I
Yeah.
might as well work for someone, which is, maybe that's not my deal. But that's very discouraging. And I feel like the business community is going to lose out. We've been very lucky in Texas because of COVID that other states were shut down. And so much investment has moved here to Florida and Texas. And I'm not commenting on Texas's rules on COVID and Florida, Texas. I'm not commenting on that. I have offices throughout the country, and I love every office in every city I have homes in. Texas is my headquarter, but we've been very fortunate. So we call it the COVID, uptick. You
Mm.
know, if you back out that uptick in the marketplace of investment, what would happen to Houston and Dallas and Austin if COVID wasn't here? Would people want to come here with all this crime? You know, Houston looked really bad over the weekend. You know,
Yes.
and I feel so bad for that. I don't think that's a criminal deal. It's just, but I do feel like people have again, uh, at all worry about the badge. Growing up, we got stopped by the police. We're like, yes, sir, no, ma'am. I'm reaching over to my glove box to get you the insurance card, and just to show. I don't feel that's being taught in the schools. I don't feel that's being taught here. But we're going to lose out. We're going to lose out if we don't get it together.
I mean, to your point, I grew up in Boston where, growing up, there was a lot of discussion about our Boston Police Department. Are they good? Are they historically corrupt? And those are very, very, very important questions. And look, we have to hold certain groups to a higher standard. I want my pilot on my airplane to be operating at full, perfect capacity. I want my surgeon. I want my police officer, I mean, we do have to hold certain careers to a higher standard, and we do have to ask important questions, especially where changes need to be made. But where does common sense fit into this? We can't be in a system where we're throwing out risk assessments, where we're releasing people repeatedly, habitually, where people now don't even want to take the position of being a police officer. And that's what we're seeing across this country.
I think it was 91 repeat murders, and some were police officers based on bond reform releasees that were out, that were repeat offenders. It was 91 a few months ago when I came with my friend who had the same home invasion I did, one of my medical directors who lived down the road. Remember, we came to your office downtown, and he had just had it happen to him, and you had mentioned that. And I don't know if it's more than that now.
It's 149. It's 149 now.
For 2021.
That's 77% of that 149 is over the last year.
Wow.
So
12 months.
I guess at the end of the day, we need to do more at the front end, and we're pouring resources so people don't choose a life of crime. We've really got to look at the systemic issues and address them, but we also can't throw out common sense and have a method and a mechanism to deal with the most violent offenders. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I just feel like it's no common sense. The bail reform is horrible. I feel like in my case, I've heard from the chief that it's been elevated to the federal, which kind of gives me some hope that we can maybe get some things done or not done. I'm not so sure.
Well, I think about President Biden, and we only look at public safety. We're not looking at the economy or trade or anything like that. We're only looking at public safety. But he issued a 42-page report not too long ago that within it wants to end the cash bail system.
As a Senator Biden, one of the toughest on crime, him and his vice president.
he spoke at my law school graduation,
I
and
know.
he used to be super, super tough on crime, but it's not a popular narrative.
Yeah, but by the way, the mayor, I applaud him. I applaud the chief.
Yes.
I am telling you, I'm not being just because they're dear friends. They are really, obviously they're from the left side of the aisle, but I'm telling you, they talk common sense. They want help. I would love to figure out a way to help them. And I'm trying to downtown the other day. It was so horrible.
Yes.
Downtown, I got a call from Chief Finner. Hey, we need some help. We're raising some money. I need you to come down there. Just don't send a check. The guys need to see you. It was more for me, Rania, to go down there. When I got that hug from their families, 2 fallen officers. I think one gets benefits, one doesn't because of some technicality. I'm not sure. Don't quote me, but it was so sad. But what they do every day for us, the lack of respect they get by in my opinion, the magistrates and judges, it's just horrible what they go through. I mean, every day you don't know if your spouse, your son, daughter is coming home, brother, sister, you don't know. And that's just not the way to be thanked by someone who goes in and just comes out. And I don't know why it's not the popular thing. I'm against police brutality. I'm against what happened to George Floyd. It's horrible. I've been in the Deep South. I have businesses in the Deep South where police have been unfair to African Americans at times. I've heard of it, seen of it. But I feel like, for the most part, the police are good people. There's bad in everybody, and we have to, but I feel like this wave is like gone way too extreme. And I don't know how we can get the DA and others to really do away with this bail reform. I can tell you the red states right now are really upset about it.
Well, I was so happy to see that the mayor-elect for New York, has come out and already said we need to rethink bail, that the current system there and what we're seeing here is not working. We were so happy to see that.
I'm a big fan of divide, and I like how I think there is a little extreme too. Someone can't rehabilitate with their hand chopped off, but I don't know. That's a little extreme, but
that's a little extreme.
But this is also too extreme too. I mean,
well, that's the thing. We're heading towards a country where there is no law and order. And again, Travis Scott's concert was so traumatic, and people blame him, and people blame this, and people blame that. I don't blame anything right now because it's too early to tell, and a criminal investigation has just started. But when you think of a situation where there's no law and order, where there's no rules or regulations,
police officers there in aggregate, and they can't get respected.
Yeah.
You go to the Wynn in Las Vegas until you put up your mask. I mean, they're really, hey, I mean, when you got, otherwise they'll escort you out. I mean, there's certain, I just feel like people feel like the police are in a tough spot. I think that my focus anyways, as a Crime Stopper board member and as a business person in the city of Houston, is to focus on helping the police. That's my focus. I feel like that's the low-hanging fruit. I think they need to be encouraged. I think we need to continue to help them and be their mouthpiece, because they're doing a lot every day. And Chief Finner is, and I am a big fan of him and what he's trying to achieve. I think he is a good. I feel like I didn't do anything for the police. I mean, I did it before. Yeah, I'd fundraiser, I send a check or whatever to different organizations over the years. But like, this has changed my life, where I really do believe that they are the key. We need to bring them on stage with us, Rania. I'm sure like you did. I'm sorry I had to miss it. We need to bring them on stage. And it's not about us, it's about them. They're the ones who are narrow and deep in this industry, not us. I mean, they face it every day. We need to get, in my opinion, in front of the congressional hearing, in front of the state legislature, city, and really have these guys pour their heart out. Because when they came to my house that night, there was obviously we were very upset they came late, and then they were on a call, and they didn't realize how serious it was. And after all that kind of settled down, and I had to settle down, I was so traumatized. They were really in tears about what they go through every day. So I think they need support. I think they need to hear. I think they need to be heard, because when you hear what someone goes through every day, I hope that the powers to be can help us change this policy of bail reform.
Taseer, you have been so forthcoming with your incident. You've done a lot of work with Crime Stoppers. You've spoken at press conferences, and you use the word trauma. What you went through was extremely, extremely, extremely traumatic. We're so thankful that you are sitting here with us now. But for those who've gone through something like this, for victims, walk us through what the trauma was and where it went and what it looks like for you now.
I have, because I'm in the medical, just like, you have some tentacles in the medical side, and so do I. Obviously, I'm in the medical industry, and I have a friend who's a very dear psychiatrist. She's head of child psychiatry at Baylor. I talked to her, and she told me to go straight out the next day in the same car, face it. She goes, in 30 days, the whole point is to get past the PTSD. And it was really tough. Any little noise I hear, I was very freaked out. I went actually on a trip the week after. I felt really comfortable because I was in the Wynn in Las Vegas and they have security everywhere. So I didn't think, when I got home, I thought I'd be over it. I wasn't for a few weeks until I really faced it, and I got it out. So I feel like I am really, really lucky. When I do hear some noises, sometimes I do react, but it's very, very less. I think that I really got over it by following her advice and facing it. And my family's been great. My son really doesn't know the details of it, even though his friends have said, "Oh my God, what happened? What happened?" So we try to, luckily, we shielded him away from that moment.
And your message to victims?
My message to victims is, first of all, I've met some of you, and as far as them and their traumatic, if they're like me, they're lucky to be alive and lucky to be okay. I think they have to, the way I have dealt with it is, in my opinion, instead of getting angry and depressed, because anger is a form of depression, right? Is to go reach out, to be with people like you, and talk and try to get some resolution to this issue, because if you do, it'll help you get over it, in my opinion. But you can't live in a cave. You got to get out there, live your life. God's out there to help you. If you just got to keep going.
Taseer Badar, thank you so much for being on the Balanced Voice podcast. You're an extremely important asset to the community, to our organization, a business leader whose voice is very, very important. We thank you for lending it to our work and our mission. And to everybody else, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to today's Balanced Conversation. You can find real solutions and tangible resources in our show notes at thebalancedvoicepodcast.com. To join the conversation, follow us on Instagram at The Balanced Voice Podcast and on Twitter at @BalancedVoice_. Stay up to date on Rania's work by following her at The Rania Report, and we can't wait to see you next week for another Balanced Conversation.